I mean this in the nicest way possible. Stop being a greedy bitch. This is I Mean This in the Nicest Way Possible, and I'm your host, Richard Armand Mills. Now, before anyone gets too pressed, this is not an episode about shame. It's also not about moral superiority. And this is definitely not about guilting people into donating money they don't have. This is about something much deeper, and honestly, much more freeing. This is about generosity as a lifestyle, contribution over consumption, giving as a form of self-respect, building meaning outside of yourself, leaving places better than you found them. Because greed isn't wealth. Greed is hoarding energy, hoarding time, hoarding care, hoarding attention, when you could be circulating it. And generosity isn't just money. It's time. It's effort. It's presence. It's participation. I was pretty much raised with this idea baked into me. Growing up, Christmas didn't end when the presents were opened. After the wrapping paper was cleared and the excitement settled, my mom would take me aside and say, "Okay, now it's time to give back. What toys are you donating?" And I'd seriously have to go through my room and give up half of what I already had. At the time, it felt awful. It felt like a loss. It felt unfair. It felt like I was being asked to give all of my old stuff away if I wanted the new stuff. But then there was this one moment that rewired everything. I got to see another kid receive the toys I donated. I watched the joy on his face, and something clicked so deeply that I still remember it now. I remember seeing him play with my prized Spider-Man action figure, the one I used to love the most. And I realized I could always get another one. But that feeling, that support, his appreciation, that mattered way more. That moment wired generosity into me. Not as an obligation, not as a performance, but as something that made life feel bigger. Every year, I donate clothes to the Eugene Mission. I also volunteer at Bark in the Park annually for our local animal shelter. And lately, I've felt increasingly called to find more ways to contribute locally. Because giving back isn't a burden. It's a privilege. And it's one of the fastest ways to feel alive. We spend so much time trying to optimize our lives, curate our identities, and protect what's ours, that we forget how grounding it is to step outside ourselves, to contribute, to matter in a way that isn't transactional, to give without being watched, to help without branding it. This episode is about the science behind why giving feels good, the mental health benefits people don't talk about enough, the way generosity stabilizes identity, reduces anxiety, and creates connection. And it's about reframing philanthropy as something accessible, human, and deeply personal. Not something exclusively reserved for the ultra-wealthy or the performatively virtuous. If you don't like people, help animals. If you don't have money, give time. If you feel disconnected, get involved. Because generosity doesn't just change the world around you. It changes the way you move through it. Giving back isn't just a moral good. It's a biological one. Research consistently shows that acts of generosity activate the brain's reward system, the same circuitry involved in pleasure, motivation, and connection. According to Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, generosity increases the release of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, chemicals associated with happiness, emotional bonding, and stress regulation. Harvard Medical School has reported similar findings, noting that helping others can lower cortisol levels, reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, and create measurable improvements in emotional regulation. In other words, generosity doesn't drain you, it stabilizes you. It gives your nervous system something solid to organize around. There's also a grounding effect at play. When attention shifts outward towards someone else's needs, rumination quiets, perspective widens. The mind exits scarcity mode and enters connection mode. This is one reason giving back is often recommended as a mental health intervention, not just a social one. What's striking is how accessible this effect is. The brain doesn't differentiate between big generosity and small, consistent acts. Time, effort, and presence register just as powerfully as money. Giving back doesn't just help others survive. It helps the giver regulate, stabilize, and remember that they are part of something larger than themselves. That's part of why spending on yourself and giving it away produce such different aftertastes. Buying turns attention inward, toward comparison, status, and accumulation. Giving redirects attention outward, interrupting the mental loop of not enough. Research highlighted by Harvard Medical School's magazine reinforces this. Kindness and generosity are linked to lower inflammation, improved cardiovascular markers, and greater life satisfaction. Effects that persist far longer than the emotional boost of acquiring something new, which tends to fade once the novelty wears off. Volunteering follows the same pattern at the community level. According to Oaks Integrated Care, regular volunteering is associated with lower rates of anxiety and depression, particularly for adults who struggle with rumination or emotional isolation. Acts of service introduce structure, purpose, and forward motion, protective factors that pull attention out of internal spirals and ground it in tangible action. People report feeling more useful, more capable, more anchored in who they are, not through status or productivity, but through participation. Peace Health highlights the social side of this. Volunteering creates low-pressure opportunities for belonging, shared goals, repeated interactions, and a sense of being seen. These connections reduce loneliness and build self-worth that isn't dependent on achievement or validation. There's also stability in showing up. Volunteering gives people a role they can return to, which supports identity during periods of transition or uncertainty. When life feels fragmented, service provides continuity, and that contribution changes how people relate to where they live. Research from the Greater Good Science Center shows that pro-social behavior strengthens belonging and reduces loneliness by increasing mutual trust and social bonding. People become visible to one another in a way that surface-level interaction never quite achieves. Harvard Business School research adds that these acts increase long-term life satisfaction because they foster connection and a sense of independence. A city stops feeling transactional. A neighborhood stops feeling temporary. Contribution turns where you live into your home, not through control, but through care. Generosity isn't something you're born with or without. It's something you build. And like any muscle, it grows through repetition, not intensity. Studies summarized by Greater Good Science Center emphasize that people who give regularly, even in modest ways, experience increased well-being and a stronger sense of control over their lives compared to those who give only when convenient. According to On-Site Wellness, ongoing low-pressure acts of contribution, such as donating clothes, showing up monthly, or helping in familiar spaces, create more sustainable mental health benefits than one-time high-effort gestures. The nervous system responds best to rhythm, not extremes. Over time, this builds grounded confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can show up, contribute, and matter. When people hear giving back, they immediately think money, donations, checks, and big gestures. That narrow framing is exactly what stops most people from participating at all. But money is only one lane. Time is a currency. Skills are a currency. Energy and attention are currencies. According to the American Psychological Association, the brain responds to the act of giving itself, not the dollar amount. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between writing a check and showing up consistently. It responds to participation. The Forbes Business Council adds that giving back works best when people contribute in ways aligned with their actual skills and availability. Time and effort often build deeper, long-lasting impact than one-off donations because they build relationships and trust. One of the clearest modern examples of generosity done right is Shaquille O'Neal. Not because he gives the most, but because of how he gives. No branding strategy, no press tour, no look at me energy. Just consistent, quiet acts of care. Paying for a stranger's groceries. Covering someone's funeral costs. Buying shoes for kids who didn't ask. According to People, many of these moments happen without cameras present and without any attempt to control the narrative. The growing bolder profile on his giving highlights that it's rooted in dignity, not visibility. Giving in ways that protect people from feeling like charity cases. That's the difference between impact and image. Generosity doesn't need an audience to be meaningful. Often, it's strongest without one. Most resistance to giving back has very little to do with selfishness, and almost everything to do with fear. Scarcity mindset convinces people that whatever they give away leaves them with less. Less money, less time, less security. Research summarized by the Greater Good Science Center shows scarcity narrows perception. When people feel they don't have enough, generosity starts to feel risky instead of relational. There's also emotional avoidance at play. Giving back requires contact with need, suffering, or vulnerability, and avoidance is simpler than engagement. Disconnection compounds this. Helping people is harder than helping your people. And Harvard Business School research shows giving is most sustained when people feel personally connected to a cause or community. And then there's the most common lie. I'll give later. Later, when there's more money. Later, when I'm not as busy. But later rarely comes. The truth is simple. Giving back doesn't require abundance. It creates it in connection, meaning, and belonging. Giving back isn't something that happens when everything else is handled. It's a non-negotiable value. The same way integrity, creativity, or self-respect are non-negotiable. It's built into how life is lived, not tacked on once there's extra time or energy. The key is choosing causes that actually align with who you are. Not what looks impressive. Not what sounds trendy. What feels personal. Animals, community care, dignity, access. The places where compassion feels natural instead of forced. When giving lines up with identity, it stops feeling like an obligation and starts feeling like participation. It becomes something you look forward to instead of something you should do. There's also an important honesty in admitting the desire to do more. That pull matters. It's information. It's the part of you that recognizes capacity expanding and wants to meet it with action. Honoring that feeling doesn't require perfection, just willingness. Giving doesn't have to be loud to be meaningful. It just has to be consistent, intentional, and rooted in care. The first thing that makes generosity sustainable is starting local. Stop thinking globally and start thinking locally. One organization, one cause, one recurring action. When the impact is close to home, it becomes tangible. You see the faces. You feel the difference. And that proximity makes generosity sustainable instead of abstract. Local giving builds relationships, not just relief. It turns support into stewardship. The second thing is giving in ways that feel natural. There's no single correct way to give. If crowds drain you, help animals. If people energize you, serve meals, organize drives, or show up where hands are needed. Giving works best when it's aligned with temperament, not when it fights it. When generosity fits your personality, it stops feeling like self-sacrifice and starts feeling like self-expression. And the third and final shift is making it routine. The goal isn't intensity, it's rhythm. A monthly donation, a quarterly volunteer shift, an annual cleanup or supply drive. Small, repeatable commitments matter more than one big moment. Consistency builds trust in the community and in yourself. Over time, routine generosity becomes part of how life is structured, not something squeezed in when convenient. Giving back doesn't require burnout. It requires intention. And that brings me to the Circulate It Challenge. This week is about contribution without performance. Choose one local cause, just one. Something nearby, tangible and real. Then give one thing this week. Time, money, effort, or supplies. No optimization, no overthinking. Just one intentional act that moves something forward for someone else. This is not about scale. It's about circulation. Energy moving outward instead of pooling inward. No posting required. No credit required. No announcement required. The impact matters more than the acknowledgement. Generosity works best when it's quiet. When it's done because it feels right, not because it looks good. When it's rooted in care, not visibility. Let the act be enough. Let the giving stand on its own. Generosity doesn't need witnesses. Greed shrinks your world. Generosity expands it. When you give back, you reconnect with people, places, and purpose. You stop floating above your life and start standing inside it. You move from observer to participant, from insulated to embedded, from scarcity to sufficiency. Contribution is how meaning gets built, not through accumulation, not through endless consumption. Meaning comes from circulation, from letting what you have move outward in ways that matter. Time, energy, attention, effort, care. When those things are shared, they multiply. You don't have to be perfect to give back. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to show up. It's about expansion, the real kind. The kind that changes how you move through the world. Giving is expansion outward. It's the practice of extending yourself beyond your own immediate wants and worries, and remembering that your life touches other lives, whether you acknowledge it or not. When you give, you become someone who participates, someone who contributes, someone who leaves places better than they found them. That's not just generosity. That's identity. That's who you become through your actions. And that's where legacy actually starts. Legacy doesn't begin at the end of your life. It begins in the middle of it. In the ordinary choices you make. In the causes you support. In the people you help. In the way you treat your community as something you're responsible for, not something you simply benefit from. This episode is the bridge to what comes next. The question of what you leave behind. Not just materially, but emotionally, socially, spiritually. What kind of presence you were. What kind of impact you made. What kind of care you practiced when no one was watching. You don't have to change the whole world, but changing a corner of it sure is nice. A block, a shelter dog's day, a family's night, a community's sense of being seen. Those moments add up. They always have. The world doesn't need more people hoarding goodness for the right moment. It needs people willing to circulate it now. Because the kindest thing you can do is be real. I'm Ram, and thanks for getting real with me today. You just finished listening to I Mean This in the Nicest Way Possible, written and produced by Richard Armand Mills.